What if I told you that in one of the poorest nations in Africa, a young soldier-turned-president is quietly doing something American farmers only dream about? What if I told you that while Donald Trump promised to save America's farming communities thousands of miles away, a leader named Ibrahim Traoré was actually building factories, yes, tomato factories, that are transforming his country's destiny? It sounds almost unreal, right? A country most Americans have never even heard of, taking steps that some of the richest nations still haven't managed to achieve. But this isn't a fantasy. It's happening right now in Burkina Faso. Let's rewind. For decades, farmers in TED, this small landlocked country, lived through the same heartbreaking cycle. Every season, they planted tomatoes, worked the fields under the hot sun, harvested basket after basket, only to watch their crops rot away. By the time they reached the markets, imported canned tomatoes from Europe and Asia had already filled the shelves. Nobody wanted local tomatoes. Farmers lost money, families went hungry, and the nation spent millions importing what it could have easily produced itself. Imagine being a farmer, working for months, only to throw your harvest into the trash. That was reality for thousands of people. But then, Ibrahim Traoré took power, and instead of promising the world, he asked a simple, practical question. Why are we importing what we already grow? His answer was bold. Build factories that would turn wasted tomatoes into wealth. So he built them. Inside these factories, conveyor belts now carry piles of bright red tomatoes. Workers in clean uniforms sort them. Machines grind and process them, and huge tanks turn them into paste, sauces, and packaged goods ready for the shelves. The tomatoes that once rotted in fields are now feeding families, filling markets, and even being exported abroad. And the change has been dramatic. Farmers finally have guaranteed buyers for their crops. No more begging middlemen for unfair prices. No more wasted harvests. They now sell directly to factories at stable rates. Their incomes have doubled, even tripled in some areas. Parents can finally pay school fees. Children who once missed out on education are back in classrooms. Families can afford health care. Entire villages that once felt abandoned are coming alive again. But there's more. These factories are not just helping farmers, they're creating jobs everywhere. Young men and women who once dreamed of leaving their country to find work abroad are now finding opportunity at home. From collecting and cleaning tomatoes, to operating machinery, to packaging goods, thousands of jobs have been created. And Ibrahim, a nation where youth unemployment was a ticking time bomb, this project has given hope. And then comes the most powerful part: independence. Every can of tomato paste produced locally means less money spent on imports. Burkina Faso no longer has to rely so heavily on foreign products. That means the country saves millions in foreign currency every year, money that can now be reinvested into schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. For the first time in decades, the nation is moving toward true self-reliance. Now let's pause and compare. In America, farmers are still waiting. Waiting for subsidies, waiting for trade deals, waiting for politicians to keep their campaign promises. During Trump's presidency, he promised again and again that he would rescue America's farmers. He spoke about reviving rural communities, protecting agriculture, and bringing jobs back. But many farmers still find themselves trapped in debt, squeezed by corporations, and uncertain about their future. Meanwhile, in Burkina Faso, without billions in subsidies, without foreign loans, without endless speeches, Traoré acted. He built, and the results speak louder than any words ever could. Farmers who once cried over wasted crops now see their harvests as gold. Villages that once watched their youth leave are now buzzing with work and opportunity, and most importantly, an entire nation that once depended on imports has begun to stand tall on its own. Think about the symbolism here. A tomato factory is not just a factory. It's a statement. It says, we can do it ourselves. It says, we don't need to wait for help. We will help ourselves. It says, leadership is not about talking. It's about doing. And that is the difference. One leader promised prosperity, but delivered mostly words. Another leader, in a poor and struggling country, built factories that turned waste into wealth. So, let me ask you, who truly stood up for farmers? Trump with his promises, or Traoré with his factories? If you believe actions speak louder than words, this story deserves to be shared. Because sometimes, the greatest lessons in leadership don't come from the world's richest nations. They come from places we least expect, where courage, vision, and action turn even a simple tomato into a symbol of independence and hope.